Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Mabotha. If we check in our country, South Africa, it's a country which has got different belief systems. We've got Christianity, Muslim, and indigenous cultural backgrounds. The system was darkened by the former apartheid government when it legislated against indigenous beliefs and practices through the Witchcraft Suppression Act 3 of 1957. The colonizers were saying South Africa does not have a religion. As a result, all our indigenous beliefs were declared null and void and barbaric. And the legislation further made it derogatory to practice indigenous dogmas and use of African medicines. If you check most of the time, when we talk about traditional healing, we are focusing mainly on the medicine. We are not focusing mainly on the practice itself. Remember, when we were oppressed, the education system has also changed. We were taught a particular linear model of belief system. Traditional one has been darkened or painted in black. If you check the acts which were there, the first one was the one which darkened everything, Witchcraft Suppression Act. In 1982, another act was also implemented, Associated Health Service Profession Act. It didn't do much, that act, if you check, because it only legislated homeopaths and other practices. But the traditional healers, nothing much was done with that particular act. Then the decoding of traditional healers was considered in 2007, Act 22, when at least the concept witch doctors was eliminated, and they were now called traditional healers. And they were also considered as practitioners. 2013, the council was established based on the Act of 2007. But if you check this council, the problem which is there's a top-down approach. There's no bottom-up approach. People are not fully consulted. If they consult a certain group. And there are so many traditional leaders out there. There are so many, there's a defragmentation of them. There are so many associations because the fear that if they come into government is going to take away their knowledge. There's still that fear. What is it that can be done? What is the role of public administration in this particular instance? The Act of 2007 allowed medical aid to be used with traditional healers. How is it being done? Why is the implementation since 2007? A person can go and consult, the traditional healer will need a cash. A sick note. Some of the employers, even today, they don't consider sick notes from the traditional healers. And that is the reason why some of them become reluctant to register. It also becomes difficult to instill a code of conduct on these traditional healers as a practice. And it becomes difficult to distinguish between genuine ones and the bogus ones. Because everybody can just claim to be a traditional healer, especially the young guys from the foreign countries. They put posters everywhere. We can increase that. Safe abortion. And when you check, when you go deep, when you do your thorough research, instead they scheme people instead of helping them. Now, the issue of collaboration. It is hindered by lack of trust between the traditional healers and the Western practices. That trust is still not there even today. The reason being, most of the traditional healers that I conducted interviews, they say they will, when they speak to the Western doctors, they get the plant they use, then they repackage it, and then they use it for themselves. If they give them a concoction, give them the ingredients, they add one item. Sometimes the other one told me, on their concoction they added honey, and then they patented it. And they said, no, but this is not yours because yours did not have honey, just to give it more taste. So they feel very aggrieved when I speak to them. They are very worried about this thing. Most of them are saying, we sell these things ourselves. If you drive around the streets, people are selling all those concoctions for themselves because they're saying if we give it to government or whoever, they are going to steal it from us. Analysis of the practice, Western, they only believe in research of African medicine. Africans are reluctant because they say, no, this is a gift from our ancestors. This is a gift from the gods. We only diagnose based on what we are told at that time. The divinal bones will tell us. Spiritual people will tell you that no, we will have to connect with the ancestors so that we can be able to diagnose a person. Western system, they repackage what they discovered from the African traditional healers. So there's no trust from the African traditional healers in terms of this. Western, they patent those items as theirs, while our poor African mothers and grandmothers remain poor in the villages. Illnesses, if you check the Western system, they separate diseases from religion. They even go west. They even separate you from your graveyards. If you check, there are some graveyards for people who belong to a particular church and others will be buried somewhere else. The traditional system, they're saying, we treat the whole body system, soul, body, and mind. It's not separated. It's a conglomeration, and we also provide a therapy in a way. And we have God above the ancestors. People are saying, people believe in the ancestors. They pray their ancestors. The study found, they are saying, we acknowledge the ancestors. We don't believe the ancestors. We believe in God, but we acknowledge the ancestors. So the education system which has been received is also a problematic. The traditional healers are saying God is above everything. In their healing processes, the Western system is calling people witches, magicians, and supernatural because they are unable to decode how do they diagnose a person without all those complicated technical equipments. The findings. There's a serious contradiction of training which is needed. Traditional healers are saying we train when we are going to qualify as traditional healers. The Western system is saying they must be trained. For what? Maybe financial management system, maybe how to prepare. Those are the debates that needs to be taken forth. What training are we looking at? Because that person is being called as a diviner. Now, if you say the person must undergo training, which one? Or should we legislate the people who are going to teach these people? Those are the contradictions which are there. Because the divine healer will train them on how to harvest herbs, read divine bones. Western system and the traditional healers are saying that we can work together. But the formula, how are they going to work together? Financial sustainability. Traditional healers are complaining that government is not subsidizing them at all. There is nothing they are getting from their government. No medical aid, only cash. Bogus doctors, mainly young boys from foreign nationals. In conclusion, it was believed that calling the practice was for the uneducated and rural people in the past. But now we can see celebrities are also joining. The calling is now becoming fashionable. Even people who walk on the street with all the attire is no longer a secret. The system that traditional dogmas is backward is becoming, it needs government to promote so that at least there can be harmony. The traditional leaders also said, because most of the research was done in the rural areas, you know, the African year starts in September. They are saying government needs to start sponsoring these events which are done when the new year starts in September. Because that is where rains and other things are being prayed for. Because there's a cow that is needed. There's quite a number of things that is needed at that time. So the traditional leaders don't have funds. They cannot buy a cow. They cannot pay a traditional healer. So the traditional healers are saying, we need this thing to be legislated so that come September, we know all of us are going to pray for rain. We're going to do the rituals. We're going to block the air so that at least rain can start on time. So they are saying, public administration, simply government, what are you doing? And they also say, because of most of the herbs are already used and there's a database for them, they need the rights to be localized so that they should be communal. Remember, the system now does not allow them to own the plants. They respect the decision by the World Health Organization on indigenous medicine, like India and China. They say libraries do more research and archive the dogmas. When the elder dies, the library has burned down.
No, thanks. Mine is not a question. I just want to comment on your presentation. But we're supposed to have the interpreter because this presentation was supposed to be here by all the traditional healers. Maybe we were supposed to present in Tsonga and Spedi or Sotho, whatever. So that they must understand it clear because it touches the heart of everybody who's a traditional healer, what we presented. So my suggestion was that you have given a very good presentation, but what is the way forward? Because we need a way forward. As you have outlined a very important issue that attach our career or our practice. So this conference need us to have recommendation or the way forward for us to benefit from the government. Thanks a lot for your presentation.